Westeros!
And welcome to our Morning Throners podcast. I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Kyle. And we're the fucking Morning Throners.
And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We are your Morning Throners, and we got Tyrion 4 on deck. Gentlemen,
Longer one than normal.
buckle
I think
in.
it's probably a little bit above average. He definitely covers a lot of ground.
He's all over the place.
Some chapters are like one conversation recently. This one, he's multiple conversations about different things. So, yeah, pretty much the short version is Tyrion surveys the waterfront, meets with Simon Silvertongue.
I was going to say, get a state of the city, get a state of his marriage, get a state of
The realm.
the Lannisters, state of the realm. Yeah.
Yep. At the end, he talks with Tywin. Yeah, about a bunch of different things. So,
Yeah.
Kyle, what do you think?
It was a good one, right? Like, I mean, it was a lot of stuff that we didn't already know. We also get a little bit of kind of, you know, you're always hoping for bad stuff to happen to Lannisters. Here we know something they don't, right? I feel like they're usually the ones giving us information about Kevin.
Kevon.
I don't know what you're talking about specifically. What do we know that they
Well,
know?
I mean,
One son being dead. Like we knew one son
well,
was dead. Is that what you're
not
saying?
even that. Just that he's captured.
Oh, gotcha. From the Arya chapter.
The what I was gonna say is that this is one of Nelson's probably ideal timeline chapters, because I feel like this has to have taken place before Arya's chapter.
I should know that, but again, I haven't caught up on the timeline yet. So
Timeline doesn't matter. Don't get caught up on it.
But here it kind of does, right? Because
for that one, let me pull it up.
Ahead, but he like does talk about how Kevin is like he's going crazy and like doing all sorts of weird shit, and then but we know that he's in custody, or well, we think he's in custody at least. Seems like it's him.
Yeah, you're talking because at the end of the Arya chapter, they had a Lannister who we had a Jaime chapter, so it wasn't him.
Yeah.
So let me see timeline wise the crowdsourced timeline that I've been going from. Let's see. So this is Tyrion 4. Yeah. So you're right. These do say it takes place a day apart. Arya is a day earlier, but again, this isn't like a perfect timeline. So yeah, pretty.
Well, yeah,
pretty
and that
close
makes
together.
sense too. News hasn't made it back yet.
Yeah.
You would think they would know immediately.
Yep. So pretty close together.
And the Jaime thing. So I mean, there's a couple things going on.
Gotcha.
Like I said, we'll get to it. Let's get to the start. State of the city, right? State of King's Landing.
Nelson's riding along the King's Gate. Tyrion is riding along the King's Gate with Bronn, and people are just grilling him. All these fishermen people pissed that he had previously burned down their shit.
Fucking torched their house, man. You'd be mad too, right?
For sure.
Yeah, because he's riding along the outside, kind of getting his job out there. What he's supposed to be doing is like surveying, kind of getting an estimate of what they need to do to rebuild
reconstruction
the harbor. Because he kind of mentioned it at some point. King's Landing is a very important harbor. It's like the biggest one in all of Westeros, and like it's pretty much out of commission since the battle. So yeah, he's getting a view of that. But to what Jeff's saying is like before the battle, he had gone out and been like, "Oh, this isn't good." Like if Stannis makes landfall, like he doesn't even need to make ladders. He can just climb on all this bullshit, build up against the walls,
climb up these houses that they're made.
Torched his own people.
Yeah, so he commanded Bronn to get everybody out and then burn everything. So they're kind of surprised that, the river is destroyed because of the battle, but these houses are like back already. Not quite as bad as it was, but like these guys have already started rebuilding since the battle.
Well, of course, right? Like everybody's trying to rebuild their house. They didn't think they were getting evicted permanently.
They got to live somewhere. Come on.
Even if Stannis won, they probably just would have come back and just been like, who gives a fuck who's the king inside? This is where my house goes.
They don't care who's sitting on the Iron Throne. They're trying to fish.
Yeah.
And that's like the perfect spot, right? It's the wall is sturdy. It's probably airtight. Like you got a nice foundation on that side. Like you half or a quarter of your job is done already.
Exactly,
you don't have to build a wall. So like, of course.
And done in stone, like you're saying. Yeah, like better material than what the rest of your house is made out of.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So of course you're going to stack it up against that.
Yeah.
So it's not these people's fault.
Yeah. So we do learn that this was supposed to be Kevin's job.
And this is where we get into what I was talking about before, right?
Yeah.
Like Kevin's gone a little off the deep end. Kids are dying. Kids are in custody.
Yeah, so he had two of his sons were twins, Willem and Martin. Willem is one of the ones that got killed by the Karstarks, and Martin is still in captivity at Riverrun. And his other son, Lancel, we've heard about him a few times now. He's got a fucked up in the battle.
Shoulder.
And he doesn't
weirdest
seem to be
injury
better.
ever. He gets the award for weirdest injury.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just infection. Like back in those days, you're just like laid up for forever if you have an infection.
And that's not something you can like amputate to solve the infection or anything. Like that's
like take a whole part of your chest with it, probably.
It's just weird that when Cersei like poked him in the shoulder, that like put him down for the count.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like back at that time, like
It couldn't have been infected yet. It was that day. It was the same. It was the same day. Nothing festered.
I think back at the time in the spoiler section, I probably made a bigger deal out of it than it was, saying like, "Oh, Cersei hits him," and Sansa. It like makes a note that Sansa actually goes and like calls for people to help him. And I think in the spoiler, I probably didn't talk about it in the non-spoiler because Kyle didn't know that like Lanza would have been laid up for
takes
this
him
long.
out of commission for quite some time.
But I think I talked about like, did Sansa potentially save this guy's life? Like, if he is
I
teetering
remember
on the
actually
edge for this long, and like to what Jeff's point is like, how bad did Cersei take him from like, oh, this was like a 3 injury to like, oh, this is like a 12 injury?
Oh my gosh,
I don't know. It sounded pretty gross while he was standing there, right? Like, so I think it just was probably like adrenaline and all that, and it didn't, like you said, it didn't start festering yet, and then now here it is.
Yeah.
But anyway,
yeah,
Kevin's acting strange. Can't trust him to do anything. He's been going out, right, trying to find people.
Yeah, they say he's been consumed by grief and fear, so pretty much he's just been useless. And I think in an earlier chapter we heard that like Tywin always kind of like relied on Kevin a lot. And Tyrion mentions later, like now he has to, it all falls to the dwarf son instead of like the trusted brother.
Turns right back to Tyrion. All roads come back to Tyrion.
Yeah.
Shit rolls downhill, man.
So the biggest issue that Tyrion's going to come about is finding the money to pay for this. And as we knew from Littlefinger, there was no money. He's like making Fugazi money.
Yeah.
It's like Wall Street.
Wolf of Wall Street.
It's Fugazi.
Penny stocks, just like taking from this pocket, putting them in this pocket, and then just pretending there's always like more money than there is. Yeah. He's like a
Ponzi scheme.
Ponzi scheme. That was named after a guy named Ponzi, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I was thinking Bernie Madoff, though, I guess.
You get new investors to pay the original investors, and then everybody just continuously is losing money while you're making money at the top.
Yeah, and it does seem that's kind of exactly what Littlefinger was doing, because what Tyrion describes later, again, we'll get to this a little bit more, I'm sure, but like Tywin says like, oh, you'll find money, and Tyrion's like, no, there's literally nothing in the treasury. We're in debt. Yeah. And Tywin's like, yeah, but we have a lot of incomes, and Tyrion's like, yeah, but literally our incomes barely match the interest. Yeah. Just the interest on the loans. So like literally all the money we have is just paying off interest. We can't use any of it to actually pay off the loan itself to like reduce the interest or
principal.
Do anything to us. Yeah, principal, right? Principal is one of them. I'm not sure which one.
You didn't take that business class
interest and principal.
Yeah. But I mean, Littlefinger seemed to be like, as he was a stockbroker, right? He's made money off of this whole deal. He's doing pretty well.
Well, of course.
Yeah. And
that's the Mr. Ponzi, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if there was. I'm assuming there was a Ponzi.
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
Bernie Madoff, line in his own pockets. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that's basically what they do at the deal. I think he's going to come back later to recheck on him.
Yeah, with like actual like...
With the actual
engineers,
builders,
the guild masters or whatever, yeah.
So they start leaving, and they go buy his baby, his toy.
The horse? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, the 3 horse. Which has become a jungle gym.
Yeah, kids are playing on it. And
yeah, like how quickly they forgot about this massive war that just happened, right? Yeah. Like they all almost died, and these kids are just like, it's just like you always mention George in his talk of war, right?
Yeah, literally like the tools of destruction just turn into
weapons are just gonna kill kids.
Yeah. It's not quite the same thing, but there was this place where I used to go camping that like had this like giant ship's anchor as like just like a
piece of
attraction thing, a piece of art, like going by, and there was like a plaque that said what ship it was from. But I remember like all the little kids at the campground would always be like climbing on this thing like a jungle gym.
You gotta see how high you can get. Right?
It was big. Like it probably went like 15 feet off the ground, but like that wasn't an instrument of war. But I guess it would have been like if they had like an old Civil War cannon that like kids are just like playing,
or even
on.
Just a tank. Like if you, like,
tanker would be more.
More accurate. Yeah.
All right. So he's like, man, I should really post security here to make sure no kid falls off and dies, but then he gets some poo-poo thrown at his face.
Yeah, kids are
so we get a little state of... Excuse me, this is the state of his marriage, right, that we were talking about?
Yes, it's coming up. It's
for sure here.
Yeah.
It's like everybody's laughing at him. The stable boys are laughing at him.
I don't think that's why he's getting shit thrown at him, though. I took this as like pretty much the same thing that instigated the riot of King's Landing, because they just threw shit at Joffrey, and Joffrey's like, kill them all, right? That's what happened the day...
I think they start laughing at him because he gets shit thrown on his face, and then he just remembers that everybody's been laughing at him.
Yeah, people
in
are
the
also
Red Keep
laugh-
because
yeah.
of the marriage.
Yeah, I agree
Yeah,
with what you're saying. Everything you're saying is about they do talk about that, but I just don't know if like the little kids climbing on the three whores are like making fun of Tyrion for not.
Oh, probably not. That's fair.
I think they're probably just hungry and the usual like peasant problems.
Yeah, and now he has poop on his face. That's funny. Poo.
Well, does it actually hit him, or does it land? I thought it landed in front of his horse. Joffrey got hit for sure in the riot.
Exploded on the ground in front of him. Tyrion's mare
He's
reared
got to have a little poop on his face.
On second,
At least a little bit on him.
on second thought, let the proxy brats splatter on the cobbles.
Yeah, because he had just had like post guards here, and he's like, "Nah, fuck it, let him climb and hurt himself. I don't care." So yeah, then he starts thinking like he even risked his skin the night of his wedding to like not do anything, and that blow up in his face. And he thinks either Sansa was stupid enough to like go talking about like, "Oh, thank God he didn't have sex with me."
to like her bedmaids or to whoever she talks to.
Yeah,
I don't
Or there
feel
was
like
just
that would be
spies.
something she did, right? Like, I think she knows better than to talk to anybody about almost anything right now.
Well, I
I
think
don't know about that, but just we haven't heard that.
I feel like she's been getting that.
She just doesn't like. We have chapters from her, and she doesn't seem to have any like friends. Like it doesn't seem like
Yeah.
she confides. in
She
her
just
bed.
lost all her friends.
she was
So, yeah.
hanging out with Marjorie and all those girls, but they
that's
stopped
kinda what I'm
talking to
saying.
her. But I think she's smart enough to know that if she tells people that they didn't bet
it's
each
just gonna make it
other, they're
happen.
gonna now
That's a good point.
make
Yeah.
her bet it with people watching, and
Yeah.
like, all right,
Yeah.
and that's
It'd be
just
even
even
worse.
worse.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
but it does seem like cat's out of the bag, though, right?
Well, yeah, even Tyrion or Tywin says something to him
Yeah, yep, and that's like
later.
the only thing
Who
he
he
really
didn't want
cares
to know,
about
right?
talking
Yeah.
to Tyrion about. But yeah, that is coming up. But Sansa hates him basically, and I guess we can all understand why.
Yeah.
Was forced to marry this dwarf who she hates, so the family's enemy, and just against all of her dreams and wishes, and she's miserable.
Yeah, so we actually have one of our fans write in about this. So we're gonna have let's have a little conversation about the Tyrion Sansa marriage. So one of our fans, Emma, I think was pretty much coming at me for giving too much sympathy for Tyrion in the wedding situation. And I think even at one point she basically said like Tyrion's kind of being pervy, and I think there's a lot like so. Basically, the reason I bring it up too is because she commented this at the same time I was taking notes on the chapter, and there's a point where he just straight up says like I wanted her.
It's
It's
right
the
here.
next
Yeah.
part. It's the next part.
Yeah.
He's like, I want Winterfell, yes, but I want her as well.
Yeah.
Child, woman, whatever she is. I want to comfort her. I want to please her. Like,
Yeah,
I don't want her to hate me, which is
Yeah.
a fair thing, but it's also creepy, right? Like he's
100% creepy. And again, one of the things that she pointed out was the age difference. Sansa's 12, Tyrion's 26, which is a lot younger than Tyrion is in the show, but it's also Sansa's a lot younger than she is in the show as well. Again, I don't know if she's supposed to be because like her having a period is like a scene in the show, but like she looks a lot older in the show at least. But like the age difference is just ridiculous. 12 to 26 either way.
This goes back to the age thing.
Yeah.
From the show, like obviously very first, like Danny, I was like, man, I love Amelia Clark, and then you're like, ew, Danny's 13. I'm like, yeah, but Amelia Clark
I
wasn't.
know. I remember
Yeah.
those. I remember those arguments. Don't worry.
But yeah, no, like this is. I mean, Tyrion was a creep in the last chapter. He's a creep. I mean, we're getting his thought process right. So like, I think. Go ahead, Kyle.
I was just gonna say, I think this kind of goes into the Jaime stuff that we learned, right? Like you get a little bit of sympathy for Tyrion because we've seen why he's kind of downtrodden all the time and why because he's constantly his whole life is being laughed at. He just wants somebody to love him for him, and like he's trying to please everybody.
Yeah.
And like I mean, it's like I said, it's the Jaime chapter. Like yeah, I went into that absolutely hating Jaime, and it didn't have that turn like this in this chapter, but then you feel bad, right? Because he watched these guys boil alive. He's seen some awful shit,
Yeah.
and like he's been involved in some awful stuff, and his life isn't. I don't think he understood his worth like right before his hand got cut off, and I mean now he's all woe is me and all that, but
Yeah,
kind of a similar to me at least. That's how I'm.
Yeah, Tyrion's woe is
he's-
me is just that he's ugly and he's a dwarf. Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
Yeah.
but we know how he got there, so I guess you have a little more empathy for him, and sometimes that takes over too much. I think is what you were saying too, Nelson, right?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Like
because we know
100%
him.
Yeah, I 100% see like what Emma was talking about. Like he is pervy. Like he says, "I want her," and when you think that like a 26-year-old should never like there's just no excuse. Like that is just pervy. Like 26 isn't that much younger than me, and I have a sister who's like the age Sansa is. I've never like once had a thought like that about her friends who are running around. Maybe that's a weird thing to say.
I hope not.
but-
Yeah,
or it should
it
be
is.
obvious,
I mean,
but,
just
like,
it.
But
Yeah,
when you actually
exactly.
think about it, and like if you
It
actually
is, but
think
it
about
isn't.
people
Yeah.
you know who are those age, it becomes like a lot more creepy. I think.
Sure.
I guess
think
to my point though of empathy for Tyrion is like after even in this quote, right, where he says, "I want her," he realized, which is kind of what made me like, you know what, Emma's right. Like that he should never be thinking that. Like he should like.
Yeah.
The next thing he says is, "I want Winterfell, yes, but I want her as well, child or woman or whatever she is. I want to comfort her. I want to hear her laugh. I want her to come to me her to come to me willingly, to bring me her joys and her sorrows and her lust." Right, all that is like pretty creepy. Like that 100% the perv side of it. And he's like, and I want to be tall as Jaime and as strong as the mountain too, which I kind of take that line as like, you can wish in one hand and you can shit in the other and see which one fills up faster. Right. But like,
yeah,
it's super creepy, but it's also kind of like, I also like, there's one point I think a little bit earlier where he says, I don't want her to like, I want her to actually just like not be afraid. And I can be the person that like gives her comfort. And I took it not in like a sexual comfort, just as like you don't have to be afraid all the time way too. Do you guys not get that read at all? That he
and that was what I was gonna say. That's where the problem comes in, right? Because I'm gonna even stand up for Tyrion a little more, and like I said, it's like he wants somebody to like him for who he is. He's tired of taking all this shit of like, and now he just got uglier, right? Like, dude just literally just got uglier, trying to save everybody else.
Yeah,
and now everybody still hates him. Like he's so down, right? Like
I guess what I'm saying though is I think he likes being the protector. Right, like I think he even.
I don't even know if he wants to be the protector. I think he just wants and longs for that somebody to care about him and to be.
I agree with that.
Just
with
completely involved with him, and I don't know that he gives a shit if it's Sansa or not. This is now just his wife, and his wife hates him, right?
Yeah.
So I said, all that aside, I don't want to start another argument because I agree with the whole he is kind of creepy, right? Like he's definitely taking advantage of a prisoner and things like that.
Yeah.
Like it's creepy. But
I just want to say one more thing too, just about like the time period that I know we're reading in. We know that there's arranged marriages that have happened. I'm sure with this.
There's a baby, married
gap.
baby.
Yeah. So like to that point of like, sure, he's definitely a creep. He's thinking, but there's guys that have actually probably done their duty and had bedded the 13-year-old girl or the 12-year-old girl.
I think that was one of the things I said in the last one was like, if you put Ned in this situation, Ned might have done it just because like that's his duty. That's what, if his father commanded him to go to bed and consummate his marriage, like would Ned have done what Tyrion did? Like it's one of those, it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But again, I don't want to give too much credit to Tyrion because here, obviously
he's having the thoughts of like, wow, I like this. I want it.
And now he goes,
the creepy part where Ned would have
been
been
goes
like,
right back to Shay.
Man, this is wrong. Ned would have probably been like, man, I got to do this because it's my duty, but this is wrong. She's a child.
Yeah, exactly.
Know? So, all right, let's move on. So, he does wish that he looked like the guy she wanted. He wants to go do the Shrek 2 thing with the fairy godmother and turn into the good-looking guy, but that's not happening. And we do get this kind of flashback meeting with Shay the night before the wedding.
Yeah. And she already knew. So he basically met with her the night before the wedding because he wanted to be the one to break the news. Like, sorry, but I have to marry.
This comes from me. Yeah.
I know, like, we have this thing, but I got to get married. She just doesn't give a fuck. And Tyrion, it kind of like hurts him a little bit that he like wanted her to be like, no, you're mine, or something, like put up a little bit of a fight like that, I guess. But she's just like, it's okay, whatever. You'll spend a night with her and come back to me.
Well, and she knew before he even told her, and like even Sansa didn't know is what he's thinking. He's like, motherfucker, somebody has some good spies, right?
Yeah, but this doesn't even seem like spies.
Everywhere.
Again, unless she's lying, but she just said she overheard a page telling somebody in the Sept when she was taking Arliss to the Sept one day.
What is a page? What's a page?
I think it's just like a servant, like a squat,
page
like
boy.
a squire
boy.
that doesn't really have any martial duties.
There's a page told a serving girl, and there's just rumors floating. It's weird that the rumors that actually made it to Shay were the true rumors. Like you would have thought it would have been like Tyrion's marrying a donkey, like just word of mouth travel.
It was less important, but I think last time he met with Shay, she knew all about the wedding too. And Tyrion's like, well, damn, how'd you know? I didn't even know about this shit, like about the dancing bear and all that stuff. And she mentioned like, oh, Simon told me, is how she said she learned about that, which is
who we're about to get to.
Yeah, the next thing here.
At the end of that chapter, Tyrion was like, Bronn, find me this guy.
Oh, she heard it from being in a room with Kevin and Tywin though, right? Like, I mean, she heard it from the source, it sounds like.
You think so? That's not what she said.
You think Shay heard it from the source?
No, she heard it from the boy. Who he was in the room with those two, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Maybe. I guess the page could have been in there with Tyrion.
No, that's what he says. He said he had it from the servant girl who heard. Oh, the girl was in there who heard it from Kevin talking to your father. So I mean, like the
It is
source,
straight from
it wasn't
it's
like
not
gossip
down the-
all the way
down the
around.
river.
Yeah, that's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I guess it is. The more I read through it, there were more people involved in the middle there. So I kind of ate my argument.
Little game
but-
of telephone, but it turned out right.
The last thing Shay didn't mind if Tyrion was, she was basically like, whatever, like, get her pregnant and come back to me. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm not getting pregnant.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's your job, right? Like I'm doing my job right here. You got to do your job.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the way I'm reading that.
She's like,
Yeah.
I know you love me, not her. Like, whatever, get her pregnant and we'll keep on keeping on.
Yeah, and then he says some part of him wanted. He thinks that some part of him wanted her to be jealous. He's like, she's all
Oh, for
she's all I'm
sure.
ever gonna have.
Yeah, it's somebody that I have to pay to love me.
Yeah.
And I mean that's more of the whole again, I guess I don't know.
Yeah, the whole Sansa thing. He wants like companionship just as much as he wants like the sexual stuff.
So he pulls up to some shitty street, right?
Yeah, markets were crowded. Demand was still super high in the city. You know,
And
their
price was
prices
super
are
high.
crazy. Well,
Yeah.
demand raises price. Nelson, come on.
Well, supply's up, so it should be coming down.
Yeah.
So these guys are just robbing them blind.
That's because demand is still high.
But demand
No.
is down from where it was. There was nothing coming in. Now the Tyrells are just pumping food in.
And these people need food. You can't use food to talk about supply and demand as a
Well, they can
that
because
economic.
apparently they're just getting nickel
Yeah,
and
it's
dimes
bullshit.
here by the.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's fucking these people are fucking goddamn animals, right? Like you're killing poor people that are just trying to eat, make some money.
Does the government do anything to stop that
They should.
in the real world?
There has to be. Well, I mean, there's definitely like subsidized plans and things like that, right?
Like if there was a shortage on water, and for some reason, like Dasani was the only company that could get bottled water, would they be allowed to just like charge $100 a bottle if they knew that
I feel
no one
like
else
they've
could?
given out
No.
water at drop off things. Oh, okay, I know what you're saying. No, you're not allowed to do that.
Well, I
No.
don't think. Yeah, because there's not no
becomes a monopoly?
There's no monopoly.
Well, yeah, there's like that economic thing. I forget what it is. There's something like after disasters, they can't raise prices like immediately and things like that, like because it's bullshit.
I mean,
right?
what happened in? I don't even know if the Michigan water issue has been fixed, but
There was a water issue in Michigan.
Oh my God, Flint! If you don't know about Flint
Yeah,
by now,
you've been
like,
under a
you
rock.
just are not plugged into
When was that?
reality. They have like
I
lead in
think
their
it's still
pipes
going,
for
yeah.
years and years and years, and yeah.
Oh, is that the
they're,
place
like,
where you can
fucked.
light the water on fire coming out of the faucet?
I don't
saw a
know.
video
If
of
that's
that
true.
one
I just
time.
know they have awful
All right.
water, and I think
Okay,
Yeah.
moving on. So yeah, there's people trying to buy stuff. Tyrion at one point just throws a handful of coins in the air, like kind of like
Well,
a
because he's
badass.
about to get bum rushed, right? Like all these people are coming to beg from him. Is what was happening.
Just makes me that I think you can do that in Assassin's Creed, right? You can like throw change and people like to cover
Yes.
to hide so the guards are chasing
I think so. Yeah.
never played. Wouldn't know.
That's all I was thinking about.
You're missing out, dude.
I mean,
it's
some of
too
the
far
OG
gone.
ones there's too many of them now.
The first one was boring. Don't play the first one.
There's
I'm not
Slow.
gonna play any of them. Probably.
You should play. You should
the
play
first
Black
one's
Flag,
in Jeff.
man.
The first one's in Italy. You would love it.
No, the third one is in Italy.
The first
one is
two.
boring.
Or in
Or
Italy.
is it
I think all of them are in Italy.
Well, I don't think I'm
No,
gonna. play
they
them,
come
so
to American stuff. But you should play Black Flag because you're a fucking pirate and it's really good.
I'll just play
it's the best
Sea
one
of
in the whole
Thieves.
series.
Sea of Thieves is the best pirate
It's so
game.
much better than Sea of Thieves.
Come on.
But it's single player. It's so good.
Too much story mode. All right, so he had another mission though. He was looking to see if someone was following him or if there were spies out and about, which he doesn't see.
Which, like, I don't know, right? Like, he's obviously missed people
Well, so hold on.
before.
This actually didn't make any sense to me because, like, so when he looks around for spies, he says any one of them. Varys could have informers anywhere. Assuming like Varys should be the only person he doesn't care about seeing him right now. Varys knows everything about Shay,
Yeah, true.
and he's
Yeah,
going to
she's in
meet
his house,
somebody
right?
who he's afraid is going to blab about Shay. So like he should care if Tywin or Cersei has somebody following him because they are the
True.
ones who shouldn't know about Shay.
That's true.
I was just like, why do you care about Varys? Like Varys.
I mean, I don't know. Just more. He doesn't want Varys to have more against him.
I don't know. I think Varys
You're
Varys,
right. I think
Varys
it's
rode with
misdirected
him,
here,
Showed
Nelson.
him how to get in and out of the manse through like the.
Varys is probably the least one you're worried about, but like I don't know. He's obviously doing this Simon Silvertongue meeting in private for a reason, or why not just go to the bar and see him? Like,
Well,
he wants to keep something to himself here, and he's.
but
gonna,
yeah, exactly. But I think from Cersei or Tywin, and I think it's interesting that when Tyrion thinks about it to himself, he thinks that Varys could have him.
But again, I don't think even though Varys knows everything, he doesn't trust Varys to keep that. Even though he's helped him to this point,
or
there's still
use it
no
against
trust
him.
there.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, well, like he doesn't need to know about all of my business, even though he knows about this side of what I'm doing.
I guess my point, and I say what you're saying now. My point was like Varys could just go to Tywin and be like, Tyrion has a whore whenever he wants. If
Sure.
he wanted to, he could do it right now. But I guess to your point, here Tyrion
He could make it worse.
Here, Varys could do it and be like, "Hey, I saw Tyrion going to meet this guy," and not give Tywin all the information, and then pretend like he had nothing to do with it. Right. So then Tyrion doesn't even know Varys was involved.
I think that's why he's worried about Varys.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That to your point, I could see why a little bit. But
all right. So he ends up meeting Simon Silvertongue, which was the singer a couple of chapters back
at the mansion.
Yep.
Yeah, he's like, "What the fuck? You brought other people in?" She's like, "It's just this guy, the singer. He's the best one in town." And then now here he is.
Yep. And again, like last time we heard that he's the one that Shay heard about the wedding from, and that kind of makes sense here because he becomes interested in the wedding.
He wants to play in it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, that's really the short of it, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So when Tyrion's going in, he's going into this like dank, nasty cellar that Tyrion says that Bronn would have had to duck. Like Tyrion doesn't have to worry about it because he's a dwarf, but like Bronn wouldn't have even been able to stand up straight down here. It's like there's like really dark. There's nobody there, and Tyrion's going in with a plan that he has these like 30 gold dragons. Which again, I don't quite understand. Like, is this a lot? Like, could you buy a house with this? Could you buy like 20 like how much is this? I don't quite understand.
This sounds like D&D, right? Where you give somebody where like you're like at the bar and you're like, I toss him a gold piece. That's like his yearly salary.
Yeah.
Like you don't realize it because you have a pocket full of them. Yeah. And so it's the same idea, right? Like 30 years salary right here.
Yeah.
That'd be insane, right?
Like I think in the first Dunk one, I think Dunk got like a whole suit of armor for like 5 silvers.
Yeah.
And Dunk's a big dude.
And how many silvers?
Like 100 silvers and a gold.
Yeah.
He sold his horse, right? Dunk sells his horse, I think, it might have been 100 silvers Dunk had, but I think it's 1,000 silvers and a gold, maybe.
Whatever.
Either way, it's a lot. Like a gold is a lot, but 30 gold still like
30 gold is a lot to do what? What's he gonna ask him to do?
Get the fuck out for 9 years.
Leave and go sing a song. Like
drop
yeah,
everything
I'll take
for 9 years.
Yeah, but he's gonna go sing around the world, which is probably what he would do anyway. Maybe he wouldn't go around the world, but he's gonna go tour Essos, just like every rock star's dream, and continue to probably make some coin on the side. And he's got 30 years salary, like Kyle said.
Yeah, I mean. I like the idea. It seems like an adventure. If I was Simon, I might have taken it, but it doesn't seem like what Simon's interested in. My thought is like, you're Tyrion, you're Lannister. You could come in here again. Maybe not. Again, I don't understand. But to me, it seems like Tyrion could come in here with 500 gold if he wanted to, and that might be a little bit more persuasive.
They're fucking broke right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, we learned that they're broke, but that's the crown, which is also different because
it's not different though. I feel like the Lannisters are broke too. No, hold on, is what I think we're getting out of this. Not broke, but like I don't think they're as rich as they're saying, and I think they've given a lot of their money to the king.
Okay, that's very possible, but they do make a distinction. Like Tyrion's like, is the Lannisters going to forgive the debt to the crown?
Yeah, you're right.
Tywin's like, no, fuck no. So they are different.
Yeah, right. We're collecting interest on that.
Until you get that money, you don't actually have that money.
Well, I think it's very plausible that what you're saying that the Lannisters actually don't have as much as they're saying, but that I just want to say that it's not true that they're the same thing.
They're not liquid. It's all wrapped up in assets.
Tyrion's always walked around with the big swinging dick money wise, right? Like he's always been throwing his money around, kind of Tyrion. So
yeah. All right. Before he takes the money, though, he's gonna sing him a song, right?
Well, yeah. So we kind of got into like the bargain. He's sitting at a table in the back. He's the only one there in this bar, and he's drunk. Yeah. Or he has a flagon in front of him, is what Tyrion says.
And he's got a nice little song prepared, nice little verse.
And there's, I think, again, I don't have it all, but there's a few times where they're just like back and forth, and he's a little bit snappy, and Tyrion's like, he found some courage somewhere, probably in the bottom of that flagon, which is, I think, why I'm saying.
Or just in like the info too, like he thinks he has him, right? He thinks he has dirty info on him that he could probably sell to the highest bidder and be better off, right? So I agree. He's probably got a little bit of whiskey courage, but also like, oh, I can blackmail the fuck out of you. Like, don't say anything to me.
Huge extortion here. Yeah, for sure.
Just some like funny things because I think I went back and read when they met the first time, and it was only like really brief. Basically, Tyrion walks in and Simon's like, "My Lord Hand," and Tyrion's like, "You should have pretended not to know who I was." And he's like, not that I would have believed you, like I'm a dwarf in like fancy clothes, like how many of those are in the city? But still, you should have tried, because now, like, what am I supposed to do with you? And he's like, oh, I promise, my lord, I won't say anything. And he like left. And
now he's probably thought about it for a while, and he's like, man, I need some money, I need some fame. I got this song that would make me a lot of money.
And Tyrion thinks at one point, like I kind of threatened him, and nothing ever came of it. But what I was getting to is like when Tyrion walks in, the man inclined his head and responded, "My Lord Hand." which is kind of the thing that got him. Like that's what he said
Did
the
it
first
again?
time, and I wonder if like Simon like knew that that's kind of what pissed Tyrion off because he's not even hand anymore. That's what Tyrion says. Like I'm not even a finger. But I just think it's funny that Simon seems like even from the get go he's pushing the buttons that he knew like kind of bugged Tyrion the first time. Like you shouldn't pretend like you don't know who I am type thing. But yeah, so he basically says like I can play for your wife because your wife's sad, and Tyrion's like she doesn't need more songs.
He pretty much just keeps leaning into this. Like I'm a good singer. Like I'm gonna get this out there.
Singer's gonna
you
sing.
gotta give me what I want, right? So he wants to be. Tyrion's like, how about you get out of the city?
Yeah, the stuff we
And
talked
he's
about,
like-
take a tour, and he's like, I'll even pay for your passage. And Simon's like, wait, you haven't heard me sing. Take a listen. Take a gander.
Yeah, check this song. Yeah.
He rode through the streets of the city, down from his hill on high, o'er the winds and the steps and the cobbles. He rode to a woman's sigh, for she was his secret treasure. She was his shame and his bliss, and a chain and a keep are nothing compared to a woman's kiss.
Yeah, he's pretty much like, yeah, man, I got a song about you. And put you on blast, buddy.
There's another line too, Nelson.
Yeah, so he's like, I like it. There's more. I could sing the rest for you. But he's like, the refrain is especially good. For hands of gold are always cold, but a woman's hands are warm.
Enough.
So Tyrion's like, yeah, I don't like this song. Never want to hear it again. But yeah, so it's one of those, it's like,
But he's
it's
also
vague.
like, what? You don't want to hear it? But maybe your Lord Father wants to
Well, this
hear
is also when he drops the money. Because he's reaching into the cloak to grab the money to pay him off. And he's like, you know what? Fuck that.
Yeah, not happening.
This is when it switches
Plan
right
B,
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he hears the song. Yeah. But like, I guess my point is the song's vague. Like if you sang this, if you were
It's
like,
not vague,
if you were
but-
like, hey, Tywin or Cersei, listen to this song about Tyrion, and then you sang it, then yeah, he would be in trouble. But like, if they just
I don't
sang
know.
it, are people
There's
really putting
already
the pieces
there's got
together?
to be rumors of Tyrion riding down the hill to Aliyaya's. You know what I mean?
And I feel like this is probably like the rest of the song is probably a little more explicit too, or at least enough that you kind of you figure it out.
Yeah, we don't hear the whole song to that point. But like to Jeff's point, like this kind of says like it seems like it's about Aliyaya. And Aliyaya already got in trouble for like she was captured during the whole battle, and Cersei's like, if you hurt Joffrey or Tommen, then she's gonna get hurt. And then she like when Tyrion was hurt, she ended up getting beat and like sent naked through the city anyway. So like
Yeah, they knew her.
this song
That's fair.
basically it just says like, oh, there was somebody coming from the castle. At least this verse, there was somebody coming from the castle
Yeah.
to a secret whore, and like people like to Jeff's point, like we already kind of knew that. Like he's going to Aliyaya's.
That's fair.
Or he's going to Shataya's.
But there's more. We know that there's more in the song, right? The second verse is going to be fair of skin with brown curly hair with a name with 4 letters.
Yeah, exactly.
So
So Tyrion's pissed. Yeah,
yeah,
doesn't
it's
like it.
No one
Never
wants
wanna
to hear
hear
your
it.
goddamn song up the hill. Shut up. I'm gonna pay you to get the hell out of here.
Yeah,
But the only thing he really wants, he doesn't really care about the
He
money.
wants a chance.
He wants a
And
shot.
he wants his chance in American Idol here.
American Idol Joffrey edition.
Yeah, he's kicking off somebody off the final episode, and it's secret change out. Right, is kind of where he's at here.
yeah. So there's 7. There's supposed to be 7 singers. A tourney of
Seven of
singers.
everything.
Well, 77. 77 meals.
courses.
I think 1,000 guests. 7 singers. A dancing bear. Jesters, jugglers. Yeah. But the
7 kingdoms, 7 vows, 7 challenges, 77 dishes.
Yeah. But so the
Whole
7 singers are Galen of Kai, Bethany Fairfingers, Aemon Costain, Erlac of Estine, Hamish the Harper, Colio Quainus, and Orland of Old Town.
For a nice gilded lute.
Yeah, and Simon's like, but they didn't even invite the best singer of all. And Tyrion's like, let me guess, Simon Silvertongue. And he's like, of course.
Yep.
He takes some digs on the other one. Hamish is old, forgets the words.
Coolio's got a funny accent.
Yeah.
So he's like, I got no swing anymore, man. Like, and then this is where he's like 8 people, and he's like, well, you could, make something happen to one of them.
Yes, because he says 777. He's like, I can't just add a new singer. What 8? What would the high septon say about 8?
Well, yeah, and then so what about 6 though? Is what he comes back with. Like 6 wouldn't be good either, right? So you'd have to get a 7th.
Yeah, like
so,
if somebody got hurt. Yeah.
So then he pretty much agrees to it. He's like, all right, that's fine. I'll be back. I'm skipping some stuff here. But
No, it's
like, is that
that's all I have. He's getting my next note is he's getting
Okay.
back to Bronn. So
Yeah. Read Simon's final quote. It says Simon could have just left it there, but he wanted one last little jab.
I shall sing the night of King Joffrey's wedding. Should it happen that I am called to court, why, I will want to offer the king my very best composition, songs I have sung 1,000 times that are certain to please. If I should find myself singing in some dreary wine sink, though, well, that would be an apt occasion to try my new song. For hands of gold are always cold when a woman's hands are warm.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, you better make sure this happens, or the song,
Yeah.
you know, like,
Yeah.
these
or your
news
song
starts
is going to
spreading.
be debuted on the radio.
Yeah, exactly.
So he gets back to Bronn and says to call. He's going to come back to get Simon to get him some good clothes. But
He's like, he'll come with you fast enough for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He'll jump all over that.
Yeah, I'm gonna send this guy back to tell you the news and to help you get some clothes. Yeah. And then he's like, Bronn, where can we get rid of a body? It's pretty much what he's
He knows a really good place that serves a good pot of brown.
Yep.
Yikes. Don't take me back there to eat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Never again. I want to like make sure I don't go into that building.
Yeah. So we get
Also,
to the...
so we know some people who were eating pots of brown.
Yep.
Arya.
Arya definitely was. We can assume probably like Gendry,
Hot Pie.
Hot Pie, as well, all those cats. Yeah, when they were
Gotta
back
eat
in
something.
Fleabottom. So they're probably eating people.
Yeah. So we get to the last part of the chapter, which is his meeting with Tywin.
What? So right before Tyrion goes to Tywin, he swings by his room, and Podrick's there, and I think he just like snaps at Podrick. So I just like when Podrick gets yelled
What does
at.
he say to him? I forget.
I don't know. He like snaps at him. He's like, Tywin wants you, the Lord Hand. And he's like, I know who
the
Tywin is."
fucking hand is, Pod.
and Bronn's like, leave him alone. He's doing his best. Like,
Yeah. So he goes to see Tywin, and Tywin is talking to a guy that has his back to him.
Yep.
And they're talking about a scabbard for a sword.
Yep. Cherry wood for the scabbards, bound in red leather and ornate with a row of lion's head studs in pure gold, perhaps with green for the eyes. So this guy turns out to be a master
I want to say
armorer.
one thing. I'm sorry before we move on too far about Tyrion and this dude. He kind of learned his lesson here, right? About killing this guy. He's got to close up these loose ends. He's made this mistake too many times.
Yeah, he brings it up right at the end of the chapter. It's like one of the last lines of the chapter.
At the chapter?
Yeah, at the very end of the chapter.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Well, then that's perfect. Then I'm sorry. I thought we were missing something.
No, you're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, super
So
fancy
green
scabbards.
eyes.
Yeah, super fancy scabbards. Also, the guy he's talking to is a master armor who I think they call him Master Mott at one point. And again, this was like a far reach. Who'd be hard to put together. Doesn't really matter. Again, he's the guy who he was
Is he with
Gendry's
Gendry?
boss. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was
Yeah.
Gendry's boss. So
Which makes
cool.
sense, right? Like,
Was he
Well,
always
yeah,
the
'cause-
master armor?
he had to have been, right? Like Gendry was making that sick helmet.
He wasn't the master armor, like not for the castle. I think like master just is like a title.
He
Like,
was
he's a
the
really
top,
really good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because I guess there's not many people who know how to rework Valyrian steel, which is what we find out.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Yeah.
new cool sword.
So Tywin calls Tyrion over to come check out the sword he's gifting to Joff for the wedding.
Yep.
And it is this reworked Valyrian steel. It's kind of cool. We get a little bit of history about the Lannisters owning. I don't know if I remembered this previously, but the Lannisters actually own one called Bright Roar.
Yep.
The second King Tom and the second had lost it. That motherfucker.
Yep. So but that must have been back before Aegon times, if they're calling themselves kings, because pretty much after Aegon the Conqueror came,
Yeah.
That's
no
when
more
everybody
kings
became
of the
lords.
7 districts or whatever it was.
yeah, they all became kingdoms instead of. Well, I guess they were kingdoms before. Now they're I
Lord
don't know, districts or whatever, lorddoms. I don't know.
realms.
But yeah, so it's funny because like Tywin kind of says the reason that he wants to give Joffrey this sword is because Stannis has a magic sword. Joffrey needs a cool magic sword.
Mhm. And they're doing some pretty cool inlay with it where they're folding in this like it's supposed to be bright red, but it turned a little crimson.
Yeah, they wanted it to be pure crimson, like a solid red sword, like kind of bright red is the way I take it. But it didn't. The way I picture this is it didn't work, and now it's like striped, like almost like a zebra, of like
Yep.
really
Well,
dark gray
yeah, it's like
and
Damascus
really dark red.
steel.
Damascus
kinda,
steel.
yeah.
Like Valyrian steel is Damascus steel. Like if you've ever
Yeah.
seen Forged in Fire or just any I don't know fucking YouTube clip.
A knife.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Or a Damascus knife, you're saying?
Yeah.
I didn't know what I didn't know what Damascus was until Forged in Fire. I'm a big fan of the show, but
Yeah. So every once in a while, I do peruse the like replica swords you can get from like book accurate. There's like a website that makes book accurate and show accurate swords from Game of Song of
Well, that
Ice and
would
Fire.
go with your lightsaber
I know.
that you probably broke.
He did break it. Broke
I
the
want to
tip
get
off.
Robert's Warhammer, but also like a really close second is like one of these two swords, just because like they look so cool.
Sheldon
what I mean?
Cooper had White Claw in Big Bang Theory.
Longclaw.
Oh yeah, Long Claw. Why do I?
These do sound like cool swords.
Yeah.
So yada yada, like, oh my god, there's never gonna be another blade like this one, and then shoot,
Bang, number
second
Except
sword.
this one. Yeah. That's actually even cooler, it sounded like, right?
A little
it
bit
had an extra,
bigger,
like-
couple in.
Yeah.
What do they call
This
it?
one's actually going to get used, is why.
Well,
At least in his mind. I know. This is the other part that I was talking about earlier. Of like they don't know about Jamie, and he's like, Jamie can't wait to get this sword. He's gonna love it.
Yeah.
He's like I can't wait to see him swinging around and stab some people
with his
Like,
left hand. Yeah. Good.
Yeah. Well, they don't. Yeah.
So just circling back real quick, when we did learn about like the history of, so Tyrion says Tywin has always wanted a sword like this in the family, which is interesting because like I guess he's given one to Jamie, because I was gonna say like Joffrey's like not in his family. That's a Baratheon.
Yeah,
Joffrey's a Baratheon.
I know, but it isn't. Like everybody knows it isn't, right? And he's gonna be a Lannister forever.
I mean, that's just the whole farce of Joffrey forever. It was like, come on, he was even like when Robert was alive, he was wearing fucking red and gold all the time. Like,
He's a fucking Lannister.
he was proud of his mom's family, is what it was. But so on the history of Valyrian steel and stuff, Tyrion says that there's probably about 1,000, more than 1,000 Valyrian steel swords in the world, and probably about 200 in Westeros, which again just kind of gives us like a how rare these things
Rare
are.
loot drop. Yeah.
Right? It's like John's walking around with like a 1 in 200 sword.
This that orange loot drop.
yeah. How many dragons could he get for a Longclaw?
Yeah, that's badass, dude. Like, yeah, like what if Mormont judged poorly and like gave like the sword to somebody like Rast, who just like immediately sold it to a wildling for like
Reek.
a ticket out of there.
Yeah. One other thing about the sword is Tyrion was like, oh my god, that's way too big for Joff. Like, he can't swing that. And he's like, well, he'll grow into it. And also, it's super light. Like, we know Valyrian steel is lighter, sharper, stronger.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
And it's fucking Joffrey. He's not swinging no sword.
Yeah.
He's
got
a crossbow guy.
crossbow guy.
Yeah.
He's a shotgun
Shotgun
crossbow
guy. Yeah.
So the last thing about the Bright Roar. So King Tommen lost it and all we hear about this is a fool's quest. So I wonder what the hell this guy was doing. But King Tommen lost Bright Roar in Old Valyria on his fool's quest, and then he had never returned, and neither had Garyon Lannister. I don't know if they call him Garyon, but Uncle Gary, I think, is what he says. We actually hear about this guy we hear about him twice in the same chapter. So one of Tywin's brothers, Tywin's youngest brother,
His dad
went off
right?
and didn't come back. Yeah, like
Yeah.
Valyria. Yeah, I think this is the first time we're hearing about that.
Very.
So
Yeah, it was like in passing we heard about it here too. It's like we don't hear much about it. It's just like, oh yeah, took the sword, went to go get the sword
yeah,
rather,
exactly.
and disappeared out west. So I mean, or out east. Who knows where he is? Like he's probably went somewhere that we know of.
They said the sword was lost in Old Valyria. So if he's going after the sword, he's going to Old Valyria, which is like where the doom happened. Which again, we don't 100%
Okay, so
really
this
know
is-
even what that means. But everything just
I don't remember even
got
that.
destroyed. Pretty much everything just got destroyed. It's where the Targaryens were from. There was a lot more families like
Okay.
the Targaryens, and just something happened called the
I
Doom.
just don't. I didn't know it was called the Doom. I don't remember that.
Yeah, I think
something
we've
called
heard
the
it.
Doom.
We've heard of it
Yeah,
before.
we've definitely heard
Okay.
of that before.
Yeah.
Last thing on Valyrian Steel is Tyrion says that they've tried to buy it. Tywin has tried to acquire Valyrian Steel swords before, and he's like, lesser lords are more like happy to give up their daughters than they are to give up their Valyrian
Yeah, fuck
swords.
no. That is a fair family heirloom. No way. Yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
yeah.
Plus, it seems like the Lannisters are pricks and nobody really likes them anyway. So, like, who would want to help them out?
They're supposedly probably can pay the most, but Tyrion makes a joke. He's like, well, not even a dagger for me. And Tywin's like, Rob had hundreds. Go take one of his if you really want one.
Yep.
Yeah, there's daggers here. Yeah, you don't need me to make you one.
And
Yeah, this is bullshit, right?
Rob only had
After
one.
he's asking him to do all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes back to like him, like you'll never have Castle Rock, so like you don't need this sword. Like screw you.
Even kind of when he says, like when Tyrion picks up the second sword, Tywin says, it's meant for my son.
It's my
Right,
son.
oh,
Yeah, go
okay.
fuck yourself.
And
dude.
Tyrion's like, he didn't have to question who that was. He put
Yeah.
Jaime's sword back on the table or something like that. Yeah, like.
Anything more about the sword? We got.
Oh, well, here's the other thing. The other time, Tywin, when he's saying that, yeah, like, go take one from the armory, there's so many, like, people just kept giving them to Robert. But all Robert ever used was an old knife from...
Old hunting knife from John Arryn.
But this is where Gary and Lannister comes up the second time. He gifted Robert, like, a fancy dagger for his wedding. Just one of the other daggers that got gifted to him that never got used. I just thought it was interesting that Gary got mentioned twice in the same chapter. We've never heard of this guy before. Tywin's brother, we've never heard of before.
Okay, yeah, I didn't realize that was him the second time there.
Yeah, I mean, not important, but yeah, same person there.
All right, so they move the talk on the riverfront. Tyrion tells that all this work needs to get done, and he's like, I don't know how we're gonna pay for this.
Yeah, some of the stuff we talked about earlier, like, we don't have the money, and he's like, where am I supposed to get it? We have money coming in, but it's the same money that's going out just to pay back the interest on these loans.
Yeah, so we don't have any money.
Yeah, we have no money. Yeah,
he's like, "What? You're the fucking master coin. Find money." Is pretty much what he says.
Like, Littlefinger did it. Why can't you do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you fucking you dumb. You can't do this job. Littlefinger was handling it.
And Tyrion's like, well, part of it is we are pledged to pay for half of this ridiculous wedding. Why? Why are we paying for half of it? And like, why is it so ridiculous? And
you need to show the people that we're strong. It needs to be extravagant.
Yeah. And Tyrion's like, Tyrion says something at one point. He's like, why couldn't we go with 7 courses, 300 guests? I've heard a wedding can be just as binding without a dancing bear.
Just extravagance has its uses. We must demonstrate the power and wealth of Castle Rock for all the realm to see. And he's like, well, then Castle Rock should pay. And he's like, why? Why would I do that? We have the crown's money.
Yeah.
And there's just nothing there. But he's like,
what Kyle was saying earlier, maybe like, why does Tywin care so much about like putting on a show? It's because he doesn't really have what he says he has, so like he needs to pretend he has. You know what I mean? It's like a bluff almost.
Yeah,
it's usually how it works when you're flashy. It's you're putting on a show.
Yeah,
yeah. And Tywin's like, well, you're gonna find that money. I'm not paying you back, and we're not forgiving the loan. And also, while you're at it, find your wife's bed.
yeah, exactly. In there is where we talked about it earlier when he's like, yeah, part of the reason Littlefinger kept finding money is because he just kept borrowing it from different people, which is exactly what we were talking about earlier. Ponzi scheme, just like taking from one, giving to the other. And he's like, are you gonna forgive the debts? And Tywin's like, fuck no. Which is like where you get the distinction. There definitely is like the crown literally owes money to the Lannisters, which probably isn't a good spot to be in. But
I mean, if you have more money and you can collect interest on it later, it's not good for the crown. It's good for the Lannisters.
Oh yeah, but theoretically we care about the crown. Right now, it's kind of the same thing.
I don't give a fuck about any of them.
Well, I guess it's just bad when there is a distinction. You can just kind of like siphon money from one to the other.
All right, so let's get on to this talk about the bedding ceremony. So Tyrion wonders who is the rat, Varys or Cersei.
Yep, kind of same thoughts he had earlier.
He did say that he thought Varys was kind of like hiding in the walls, right? Or like,
well, he said that earlier in the chapter. He basically said like either I have Varys to blame or Sansa told. So yeah, basically Varys has doing his Varys thing where he's hearing shit that he shouldn't be hearing, or so Sansa just
Tyrion's first line of defense or whatnot is like, these handmaids talk too much. Like, I don't trust them. I don't want them around me. And Tywin's like, I don't care. Fire them all. Like,
yeah, Tywin's like, grow the fuck up. You're just get rid of them then. Like, who cares? Like, that's why are you bitching to me about it? Like, which is actually a really good point. Like, Tyrion doesn't like Sansa's handmaids. Why is he just like, I don't like them. Like, just get rid of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Fire the maids and take care of the maidenhood.
He's lucky that he's like, I don't care about their maid. Yeah, that's what Tywin says. I don't care about the maids. I care about her maidenhood. He's like, if you get her maidenhood, you're one step closer to the north, and if you get her pregnant, you're 2 steps closer to claiming the north. So just get it done. Yeah.
One thing Tyrion does say, like, kind of like, what does he say? Something about the child. Oh, maybe he just thinks it. I'm pleased you know of it now. Perhaps you ought to try and know the woman who shares it with you. Woman, child, you mean? He didn't
say that out loud, but yeah, he thought
come
about
back
it.
to Tywin and be like, she's too young. Right?
Yeah. Well, he I think at one point he does say like straight up, she's too young. And
Yeah, he does.
yeah, I don't know exactly where it is, but he straight.
Oh, yeah,
I think
It's
it
right
was
here.
just coming up.
She's old enough. She's old enough. No, this is where you're talking about.
Yeah.
She's old enough to be Lady of Winterfell when her brother's dead. Claim her maidenhood, and you'll be one step closer. Get her with child, and prize is all but one. Do I need to remind you that this could be set aside? And he's like, but anybody that would set it aside is
In
a
our
fucking
pocket.
trained seal.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what are you talking about? Who's gonna like? Why are you worried about this? And then he comes back and he's like, well. That was Tyrion's joke, right? He said, "Well, Moon Boy is more likely to annul my marriage than the
High
Septon
Septon,
is."
yeah.
He's like, "Well, maybe I should have married Moon Boy to her."
He would have known what to do. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Somewhere he says she's too young. She's too young.
he already did that. He said he pretty much says, "Fuck this, I'm done talking about my marriage."
What about Cersei's wedding?
Yeah, what about my sister? Yeah,
She was supposed to get married to somebody in the Tyrell family.
May said, "Nah, I'm good."
Well,
Which is pretty funny, right?
Yeah, you can't even have my damaged son.
Well, interestingly, Mace said, "Yeah, I'm in. Let's do it. Good idea, Tywin." But then the next day, he came back and
Olenna was in his ear.
he had some questions about it, and Varys told Tywin that Olenna had been whispering in his ear. The old woman's work.
Which means like she's pissed, right? She's probably pissed about this whole what they did to Sansa.
I was wondering why exactly. That's one good reason.
Cersei, yeah, she's also just like Cersei's too old and used, which I don't know. I don't know how old she is.
I think Cersei's kind of gross to them, right? I think they all know what happened.
I think though, if you look at like theoretically, Cersei could be looked at in the same way. Like say that the Tyrells were looking at Sansa as like a piece in this game, right? Why do they care about Sansa?
For the North.
The North.
Yeah, because theoretically, Robb dies in this war. Bran and Rickon are already dead. Sansa's going to be the one who
Right up there, yep.
the one who gets in charge.
Her male son, yes, is heir.
Yeah.
Essentially.
So Cersei, I don't see how Cersei's any different for Castle Rock, right? Because Jaime's Kingsguard, so he's out of the picture.
Because
if
come
the
on, like I feel
Tyrells
like
don't have-
people
The
know
Tyrells
that.
have to realize that Tywin's not a huge fan of Tyrion, and then
Well, yeah, but
Cersei's
Tywin, they also know that
theoretically you're in.
Tywin's gonna do some funky
right.
ass shit so that it's, they gotta know. People gotta know he's not passing it on to Tyrion.
I don't know.
If he was, he would
Well,
already be there. It's already his, right?
I guess the problem with that is like we have Joffrey, we have Tommen. So Joffrey's king. Tommen would be
Castle
yeah.
Rock.
So there's already, I guess, a person. Yeah, she already has children. So I guess that's why she's not as valuable. Which I guess kind of what she says is she's used, which is
well,
a
you
bad
could
way
kill
of saying
Tommen.
it,
He'd
but-
be easy.
Yeah.
He's a little kid.
But
He's
how does
small.
that work? Does then it go to Marcella's children or?
She's small too, and a little girl.
Yeah, so we don't know if the Tyrells think like that, but it's possible. But yeah, so I was just wondering because it does.
They don't think like Lannisters is the problem.
Yeah.
huh?
I was thinking that Cersei does just seem like a good bargaining chip in the grand scheme of things, but maybe not because to your point, like if you go by the rules, Tyrion is in line. And
I mean, she's still a good bargaining chip, right? Like she's kind of the queen right now, and like she's.
I don't know. I feel like
I think she's got a lot of value.
If she didn't have kids, obviously her value would be way higher. Maybe not. Like I don't even know. The crown would have passed on. I don't even know. I don't even know
Well,
the line. But
Anyway,
she's
To
not
Kyle's
getting
original
married.
point.
The point is she's not getting married. So
yeah.
she's not
Well,
getting married to Willis, and Tywin is worried about her ego. And she doesn't don't let her find out that they turned her down.
Is that why he's worried about it? I was wondering. That's what I was wondering.
I thought it was
100%.
an ego thing. Yeah.
yeah, she can't learn this.
If so, there's no way that Tyrion. I actually don't remember, but if so, there's no way Tyrion doesn't tell her, right? Like Tyrion, the next time that he
He's
gets in an
definitely
argument with
gonna use it. I
Cersei,
would
he would just
think
be
that
like,
would
"Well, I
be
remember when you got
something used
rejected by
as
the
a
cripple."
Snarky remark.
Like,
probably.
it seems like I was wondering if there was a more important reason that
He's probably
that Tywin
saving
didn't want
that.
this getting out.
No, I think it's embarrassing on the family, right? It's a shame.
Yeah.
Wow, you turned down the Queen Regent? Like, what's wrong with
Yeah,
that
they
type of
couldn't
thing?
even marry Cersei off. Yeah.
So Tywin, interesting. I actually missed it because I listened to the audiobook first. I missed this. Tywin says Cersei will be married. Here are some of my options. ... Grandmaster Pycelle comes in, and they don't talk about that anymore. But basically, the Tyrell thing's off, but Cersei's still getting married. And if we think back to, they basically rattled off a bunch of options for Cersei previously, which none of them were good. Like the Tyrell one was actually the best one. I think some Greyjoys were in there. Like it wasn't a
Was
good
there
list
a
of people.
red
for
wine
Cersei.
or something like that? I don't know.
I think there was a list of an older generation and a younger generation. So I think both Balon and Theon were potential options, and you might be right. Like maybe the older red wine was there. I don't remember. But yeah, so then Grand Maester comes in, but I guess that's something we have to look forward to. Who's Cersei Bachelorette Cersei version. But yeah, Grand Maester comes in. He's got a letter from the Night's Watch.
Yeah, Bowen Marsh sent down word that the wildlings are moving south in vast numbers. He also said that the Old Bear said that they were under attack, but then there was no other ravens. There was no follow-up ravens, but then all the ravens came with no word, and they're like, it's not, doesn't sound great.
That's not a good look, yeah. Also, like, when Grand Maester's coming in, there's like some lines about his beard's missing, and Tyrion thinks about like, I threw him in the dungeons and cut off his beard. I should have chopped
or cut his hair off. Did he say he should have cut his hair instead?
At one point, he says I should have shortened him by a head, or instead of like by his beard or something like that. So yeah, But I think Grand Maester gives like some pretty good.
He's got info.
He gives like pretty good counsel too. He's like, well, they're like, I don't know. He kind of takes the Night's Watch side a little bit, so that's kind of why I like him.
I mean,
he gives that news.
Yeah, and he's like Bowen. He also says what Bowen asked for, which is that all 5 kings send men, and that's kind of like he probably should have used his words better.
Yeah, Bowen should have thought about it.
Yeah, like you could ad lib a little bit and say the kingdom send men.
But at the same time, I think he's like, I don't give a fuck. Like your problems down there don't matter to me. But I agree. You're right. It didn't win him any friends here.
Like to Bowen's point, it's like I don't give a fuck who's sitting. Like we need men now. If Pycelle actually cared about the men, he would have not said the 5 kings.
Well, Pycelle could have reworded a little bit too, like the Maester rewording. But yeah, to Bowen's point, the Night's Watch takes no part. So like. You're not allowed. Theoretically, you're not allowed to get You're not allowed to get mad at him for that.
I answered all of you. Yeah, like go for it.
I'm not mad at Bowen.
You're all kings. Good, great.
And I don't know if you said it, but like we got the news of what happened with Jorah, but also like Bowen basically is writing him off as dead. Yeah, he's dead.
Gior.
We need people. Gior. What did I say?
Jorah.
Gior. Yeah, Lord Commander Mormont. Bowen's like he's dead. We need people because one of the things that Tywin and them start talking about is like who's going to replace Lord Commander, who's going to be the new Lord Commander. But yeah, Tywin is pissed about the 5 kings speech, him mentioning 5 kings. He's like, remind him that Renly's dead, and there's only 1 king.
And the rest are dirty traitors.
Yeah, the rest are traitors. Yeah.
So Pycelle's like, should we get the council together to talk about like sending men up? And Tywin's like, nah, we're not doing that.
Yeah, no way. Don't worry about the council. I got this one.
Who could we put in charge of this place?
Well, Tyrion just sent one of our buddies up there, Janos.
That rat, Janos Slynt.
Yeah, what a fuck boy. And Tyrion doesn't like the idea, and he's like, fuck. And he's like, you know what, guys? We can't actually just force this on them. They elect their own commander. So Tyrion's like, shucks, that's not going to work. Shame. It would have been great if Janos could have been in charge, but I guess that's not going to work. And Tywin's like, well, they're going to do as they're told, or they're not going to get any men. And it's just like, Tywin's like, let's rig this election, is pretty much what Tywin's thinking.
Yeah. For sure, yeah.
We'll send them who we're supporting. They better vote for that person.
I'm surprised Tywin just not like, how many people are in the Night's Watch? Oh, 700. Let's send 701 people up really quick.
Get the majority.
Vote up.
Like when there's so little people, like it's not that hard to swing the vote that way. Just straight up buy votes.
So Tyrion fights back. He's like, somebody in the watch already is better. Shadow Tower, East Watch by the Sea. And he's like, neither of them are on our side.
Yeah,
pretty much what he says.
Cotter Pike and a Mallister. So Mallisters are like in the North Riverlands area, and Cotter Pike is Iron Islands. So he's like, yeah, neither of them are on our side, so we don't want either of them in charge right now. Which like, how much does it really matter if like the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch is on your side? Like, is Gior Mormont helping out the North in this?
No, and to the same point, like they should drop everything. Like
they're supposed to. Yeah,
like they have one purpose now, and it's to man and guard that wall. They don't give a shit who's on. They're never leaving.
Yeah, but you're not Tywin.
They're never leaving this wall.
You're not Tywin, Jeff. That's and he's willing to. He says that fuck that wall, pretty much, right? He's like, I'm going to use them as my own personal army up in the north. Is what he's hoping for here.
Well, I think in the last Tyrion chapter 2, in the last council, Tywin was literally like, you know what? I'll side with Mance Rayder if we have to. I don't give a fuck. Like, the North are our enemy. If Mance Rayder's fighting the North, I'll side with him. I don't care. Like, Tywin was thinking, like, on that kind of... And Tyrion here is like, why do you want Janos? Like, you even, like... I remember what you said to me, and I, like, went back and I looked at this, too. I didn't actually look at it in the books. I looked at it in my notes. And in my notes, it didn't have much. Pretty much it said was like, when Tywin was sending Tyrion off to King's Landing, I think part of the reason Tywin cuts him off is because pretty much in the same breath, he was saying Pycelle sucks. He was saying like, Janos, Pycelle, Littlefinger, and Varys, they're fucking up. You're going to go put them all in line. But he says like, I can't believe they gave Janos Harrenhal, is like what my note said about.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
And here Tyrion says, Janos is a butcher's son, and you yourself told me, and Tywin's like, I remember what I told you, but Castle Black is not Harrenhal. So pretty much he's saying like, I don't give a fuck about Castle Black. Harrenhal is a huge piece that we can give to people who are helping us out more.
It's a better bargaining chip.
Who gives a fuck about Castle Black? That's a free prize. Yeah, just give that to Janos. Who cares? I am kind of confused. Like, why do they care about Janos? Like, what? How does he help them now? Besides the fact that they're pretty sure he can be loyal because
he's somebody in the north. He's somebody above everybody else.
Like, if Janos was like, "Hey, I'm Lord Commander now," like, all right, mobilize. We're heading to attack. I don't know, the Umber's land. Like
no one would go for
that. Fuck you. We're not doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Like that. I don't know, man. I don't think it works. Like, yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Like, I don't think it works 100% like that.
Doesn't work like that. Like,
you're getting paid by them. I think that's what he's hoping for.
They're not getting paid shit. They're eating basically northern brown.
I know, but Lannister can give them stuff.
They
that's
ain't
what
got
I'm saying.
no bread. So, you said it earlier.
I think what could be interesting too is say everything works out the way they want it. Janos becomes Lord Commander. Just like a little redemption arc for Janos. Like, he has an encounter with the Whites, and then he's like, you know what? I don't give a fuck about the Lannisters. We got an actual problem here, and he becomes like a good lord. Like,
it could happen.
It could happen. You know what I mean?
Maybe it could happen. But the bigger part is Tywin's like, well, there's a tool for every task and a task for every tool. So whatever he has for up there, he's got Janos in mind because he can control him, and Janos he knows is a weak little tadpole.
And then I like when Tywin's like kind of helping Pycelle word the letter. He's like, say to the King Joffrey was sad to hear about Mormont's death, but regrets he can't spare any men at the moment while we're still in the field, and suggests that things might be different when the throne was secure and the king had full confidence in the leadership of the Watch.
By the way, say hi to our faithful servant, Janos Slint.
Yeah, we have full confidence in the leadership. Oh, yeah, so how did Janos for us?
And this is where Tyrion thinks about, man, I wish I killed that motherfucker.
Yeah, what Kyle was mentioning earlier.
Yes, yeah, exactly. He's like, I left a loose end here, and now it's coming back to bite me, which is like why Silvertongue, like I'm squashing that bug, pretty much, right? That roach is dying.
I should have trimmed Pycelle's head, not his beard, and Janos should have gone for a swim with Alardim. So Tyrion did command the person who actually... So the reason Janos and Alardim actually got sent to the wall in the first place was because there was the command to go kill all of Robert's bastards, right? To make sure that there was no question of who was the king. And Janos commanded Alardim, who was just a member of the Gold Cloaks, a nasty one, to kill the baby, who was like the baby in the brothel that Ned went and got into the fight outside of.
And he did some fucked up stuff, right?
Alardim is the one that killed the baby. Janos is the one that gave the command. That's why Allard got... They were both supposed to go to the wall, but Allard was not supposed to make it. He was supposed to fall overboard. Tyrion commanded on their way. So here he's saying Janos should have gone for a swim with Alardim. Maybe saying like, yeah, he shouldn't have made it either. He should have also I should have murdered him.
Yeah. So Tyrion's getting a little harder here. Yep, exactly. He's learning his lesson. He's never again. Fool me 4 times. Shame on me.
Which I don't know is a good thing. Like,
yeah.
It's like Tyrion's like literally like murdering people. Like he's like, this was the way to go. I never should have played the nice guy. I should have just been murdering people from the get go.
Getting rid of their bodies.
Which is again like because we're like in his head, it's kind of like fuck these guys. But like from like it's not how.
And they don't exist, right? It's a book, so it's not a.
When you play the Game of Thrones, you either live long enough to see yourself become the villain,
or get POV chapters so people overlook all the bad stuff you do. All right. Well, Kyle, any other thoughts on the chapter?
I don't know. I feel like we talked about a lot of this stuff.
I think we did.
Does he bed Sansa? Does he kill Silvertongue? I think Silvertongue gets offed, right? Like I feel like this is the start of that, and Bronn doesn't fuck up. So
Bronn
there's that.
Seems to be a pretty good professional.
I don't think he's going to do anything with Sansa.
I have good open-ended questions that you're never going to answer that I think kind of is like a little bit of spoilery, but like say these 2 new swords get names, what do you think the names would be? So say Jaime names one and say cool. Joffrey names one because that's who they're supposed to go to.
Oof,
It's so
I don't know,
open-ended,
man.
It's a
you could
cool.
never
It's
be
a really
right.
cool question.
It'd
though.
be like something like, I don't want to say like long claw because that already exists, but like lion's paw or something. Like that's where I'm thinking like the mane or like.
So Joffrey, the sword that Joffrey had that Arya threw in the river
Okay.
was
Yeah,
named Lion's Tooth.
Okay.
So it's interesting that you like go. It's like Lion's Claw. It's like right in the same area.
I forgot about that, but yeah, I mean that's what I
It's
think.
even
right? Like, I
crazier
think they
that he
named
doesn't
it
even think of ever going like deer
the
antler.
deer. Yeah. No,
Deer antler.
no, I think they get named after the Lannisters. Yeah, that's a Baratheon joke. Come on, Nelson.
I got it.
We already had this discussion. Yeah, I think they get Lannister names for sure because that's the whole point of these things.
So Joffrey has a new sword though. Trivia question: Who? And he made Sansa kiss it before the battle. What's the name of that one? That one is not really related to
the
a
Danger
house.
Noodle.
It's kind of just like Joffrey's a dick.
Widow? Is it Widowmaker?
No, it's Heart Eater.
Heart Eater.
Such a dumb name.
Yeah, it is. All right, so I were you just making blanket guesses for both of them? You weren't making. Was that your Joffrey
Yeah,
guess?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I they're both going to be Lannister thing. I don't know if does Jaime name his now. Like, does Jaime even keep this sword?
It was a hypothetical. Say they both get them.
Okay, well then Jaime, handless Jaime, like maybe the right hand or something like that.
Lefty. Yeah.
No. I think it's like
Strong side.
his
left side.
boomstick. He cut off his arm and now he's got a chainsaw attachment, a shotgun attachment.
All right.
Captain
Cool.
Hook.
I don't know what else. Like I mean, there's definitely a lot of stuff that happened in here, but I don't know where else to extrapolate on. So
No, we're going long, and I'm asking stupid questions, so it's a good time to cut it.
I thought that was a fun question.
it's better than some of the others.
All right. Bye, Kyle.
Bye, Kyle.
Later, nerds.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler
Bye,
alert!
Kyle. See you later.
Bye, Kyle. See you on the next one for Samwell 2. Now, onto the spoiler section for Tyrion 4. Jeff, what we got?
All right. I don't have a whole lot.
One thing I want to start off with was at the beginning, I was confused. Pretty sure you were confused.
I'm never confused.
A lot of the viewers were probably confused. Kyle was talking about Kevin being captured like it was like a sure thing.
Yeah.
Do you
I was definitely confused at what Kyle was saying. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? His others.
Did you realize eventually where that was?
Yeah,
what he was
then I
talking
realized,
about?
like, oh shit, he thinks that his son is in the cage.
Yeah, Kyle had made the prediction in the last Arya chapter at the end when Arya wakes up and they're putting somebody in the cage and they're like, "You Lannister dog," blah 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 blah. And Kyle took that very literally, like this is a Lannister, and then we find out it's not Jaime when we have the Jaime chapter, and they're talking about like your brother is gonna laugh when he hears about this. So like it kind of made sense that he was.
It
saying
did make
Kevin.
sense.
It just
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. Like why would Kevin not be there? And then I think it's funny that even after like Tyrion thinks about Kevin in this chapter, like a decent amount, where he's like,
Yeah.
oh.
They tell where every son is at.
Yeah, but and they don't mention that Kevin's captured. But again, like when he even asked for the timeline lookup, we looked it up. It's like pretty close. So I could see that maybe Kevin, for some reason, was leaving, got sent away from King's Landing. We didn't hear about that, but Kevin's still in King's Landing. To all, yeah, exactly. So I just thought that was funny.
Lancel is injured. One son's dead, and one's at River Run. Like
I just thought that was funny.
yeah.
And I wanted to clear it up for any viewers who maybe haven't listened to it like recently. Like we're kind of confused by that.
Yeah,
'Cause
that
ago.
was confusing. All right, there was just a couple quotes I had that were very Game of Thronesy. The one comes from Simon Silvertongue,
Go ahead.
and he says that every man has a song, which I just thought was very like,
Yeah.
the book's called A Song of Ice and Fire. We know in A House of Dragons, or like Aegon's the prince that was promised, and his song is one of Ice and Fire. Like it just made me.
When Dany's in the House of the Undying, she looks back and sees Rhaegar and whoever the woman is with him. I think people think it's Elia. Well, maybe it's Lyanna, I guess. She says, "Are you gonna make a song for him?" And he says he has a song. His is the Song of Ice and Fire, which is like he has.
Did you read
I
that
didn't
quote?
think
And
about
we're
that.
like,
I didn't really think about it, but
I mean, there's
that was
nothing like
interesting.
really to it. Like it's not like I think Tyrion is now the prince that is promised because he's like, oh, you have a song type
Yeah.
of thing, or
Yeah.
But it just was like, that sounds like Game of Thrones thing.
Yeah.
So that one, and then there's a tool for every task and a task for every tool. It's just like all these people are just getting used left and right. Like it's just,
Well, yeah,
that's just the Game of Thrones of it all.
and we know that's a Tywin thing. Like Tywin uses the mountain and armory lords and Vargo Hoat to go. And,
You
like,
might not
burn.
like them, but they
get the job done.
Yeah, they can get their job. They can get a job done, whether that job is a good job or not.
Two quotes that stuck out to me both in the same like vein of Tyrion is a Targaryen, maybe, is the one where he says that no words would ever make him fair in her eyes, or any less a Lannister. Like when he's talking about like why Sansa hates him, and I'm like, or any less a Lannister. That was in italics. The part that just said or any less a Lannister, and I just thought it was interesting that was in italics, and nothing else in that sentence was. And then the other thing is after Tyrion, I think, did what he did with Simon. He says, or he thinks to himself, like, I want to go back and get he wanted a bath, the hotter the better. Which, again, isn't necessarily a Targaryen thing.
Only Targaryens like a hot bath. I mean, that is a fact.
That's a trope that, like, people, like, you want a hot bath to scrub off, like, the bad stuff you did or whatever. But we know that Dany likes particularly hot baths. So those two things are just like, made me raise my eyebrows a little bit. So just thought I'd mention them. Mm-hmm. The last thing to talk about is kind of the swords, right? I thought this was something that you might actually spoil, so I texted you.
I don't spoil, and I've never spoiled anything on this podcast.
You definitely would have spoiled that this came from Ice if I didn't mention this.
It's not true. There's no mention of it in my notes, so I don't say it.
So cool that these two come from Ice.
Yeah, I don't know if it's cool. I think it's pretty sad.
It is sad. What do the two of them get called though? Oathkeeper, and you kind of said the first one when we were guessing names.
Yeah, Widow. Is it Widow's?
Widow's Wail.
Widow's Wail. Yeah.
Which again, kind of like mirrors.
If anything, I spoiled that it was going to be something like that.
Well, so the next thing, like Widow's, I think those two names are interesting, right? Widow's Wail. Cat is a widow, and she ends up like dying, wailing, I guess you could say. And then Oathkeeper is like kind of like a good word to describe Ned. So it's almost like Ned's sword got broken down into Widow's Wail and Oathkeeper, right? And then Oathkeeper goes on to go to Brienne to keep the oath to bring Sansa back.
But then she gets a new oath to kill Jaime. So.
And what happens with Joffrey's sword?
They give it to Tommen, I would think. You would think that would be something that starts getting passed along. It definitely goes to Tommen.
What happens to it in the show? Do you remember?
I don't know if it's ever mentioned again.
I don't think that's true.
Joffrey cuts the cake and then dies.
No. Jaime wears it when he's with Olenna at the very end, season 8, or was that 7?
So do you think?
And she's like, "What was that sword called again?" And he said, "Widow's Wail." And she's like, "He was always a cunt," or something like that.
Do you think after?
No, I guess he takes it. I bet you he takes it with him to the night to fight the Long Night.
I'm just saying. Like Jaime gives Brienne Oathkeeper and then takes Widow's Wail for himself?
Yeah. That'd be my guess.
I mean that, especially after Tommen takes a nosedive off.
Yeah, that doesn't happen in the books, but yeah, if that happens if that does happen in the books, yeah. Jaime probably just keep
if it doesn't happen in the books, that was an all-time scene.
yeah, you're right.
It's also an all-time meme.
It is. Yeah, it's pretty great. There might be some other stuff I'm missing here, but yeah, like the last thing I had was just talk about the swords. So I think the swords are cool.
Anything about Shay knowing? I'm just kind of spitballing here. Shay knowing about the wedding because she's working for
Tywin. We haven't talked about that in a little bit, but that's possible. She says it's because of Simon. Mm-hmm. The other interesting thing is like he says like, "Oh, I should have killed Janos and Allard," and like Pycelle.
He also should have killed Shay.
Well, like Simon's just blackmailing him.
Mm-hmm.
Like again, like we're kind of cheering Tyrion on as like, yeah, go Tyrion, fuck this guy who's blackmailing you, but like he's literally just murdering this guy. This guy got the one up on him, and Tyrion's just like cheating and like murder. You know what I mean? Like, I guess it's not cheating in the game of politics. In politics, murder is always, I guess, a play. But like, Janos and Allard were being punished for something they did. Simon didn't do anything yet. It's just this is like a preventative measure. Basically, Tyrion's killing an innocent person. He's killing somebody in cold blood.
But is this guy an innocent person? Like, I don't know.
It's just a threat of blackmail.
I mean, a threat of
like how that it's extortion. It's completely different than murdering a baby, which is what Janos did.
I feel like we see this a lot in these type of people with power. Like, I just think of just really quickly, like Kevin Spacey and what's it called? What's that
House
show?
of Cards.
House of Cards, where he throws the girl in front of the train because she obviously knew too much.
I'm just saying, like, people. I don't think people root on Kevin Spacey's character as much as people root on like Tyrion. Like at the end of this chapter, Tyrion's like, "Yeah, I'm learning to murder people." It's like Al-Ardeen deserved what he got.
But
Janos
this is the game.
probably
But
deserved what
yeah,
like Janos. You probably like Tyrion's pretty much. I feel like treated everyone fairly to this point. Janos maybe didn't deserve to be killed because he didn't actually kill the baby. He just ordered the killing of the baby. You could argue that he could get killed too. I think he could get the death penalty.
yeah, but he also got the order from somebody else, right? He just.
But I'm
didn't-
saying, like, Simon Silvertongue didn't do anything. How are you going to sentence this guy to death? He just threatened.
Because he just doesn't get. I just think he doesn't give a fuck anymore. He's like, whatever. Like this guy doesn't matter. He's dangerous to me. Like I'll kill him.
Yeah, no, I get it, and I love Tyrion, so I'm like, yeah, fuck Simon Silvertongue. But also, they call it Singer Stew later on. I think Tyrion refers to this as singer. Also, the song, Tyrion just thinks about the song. I feel like all the time.
Till he kills Shay.
I feel like even in Dance of Dragons,
Even
he's
longer.
thinking about
His
this song.
his cold gold hands.
Yeah. So, but now we're just rambling. We had a long non-spoiler,
Yeah.
so we can cut this one short. We'll see you guys in the next one for Samwell 2.
Bye.
Bye bye.